Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn something about product protected routes. How these protected routes works and what is the purpose of protected routes. For example, in some cases, we should not access some URLs without login. That means without authenticating. So in that cases, we will use protected routes. And also in this example, I'll explain you how it works until we reload the application. The protected routes will be available. Once you reload, it will directly go into the login page. Same like if you are using any of the banking applications, then once you log in and if you refresh the whole page, then automatically it will log out. In the same way, we will try to implement our protected routes. Let me go into the Visual Studio Code. Here, first thing we need to understand about protected routes in this example. In my previous examples, I gave login, products, and register. So if you see the products are something which should be visible to me after logging in. That means only authenticated person should see my products. So that is my functionality. So how to achieve that? And login and register are not related to the authenticated routes. They are unauthenticated routes. That means they don't need any authentication. For implementing this, we will use something called as context API to pass some data from our one component to another component. So how we can achieve that? So let me go here, and what I'll do is I'll create one context API. If you want to understand more about context API, please watch my React tutorials. I have explained all about the context API and how it works. So now I'll concentrate only on how to create and how to use it. So auth context is equal to, I will be creating the context, create context of, and I want to give it as an export. Wherever I want to use, I will utilize this particular context API. So now this auth context will have some set of providers. Let me format this, and I want to pass on the top level. So auth context dot provider, and this provider will receive some data. So let me go here into the div and put it over here. So this is my provider, and what are the values which we can send to this provider. So this one, we are passing a value, and the value is something like whether this guy is authenticated or not. I'm using is authenticated, and also I want to use something like login. When the user logs in, it has to call this context value, and there is something called as logout. These are the three states which I have. So one is the authenticated state, so which will help us whether the application is authenticated or not. So I'm using set is authenticated. So let me make it I as capital and equal to use state. I'll use a state, and the default state is false. Let me use false for now. Now, when we have a login, we will be using something like login. When the user clicks on a login button, whenever you want to authenticate, then we have to call this after successful login. So let me use set is authenticated of true because he logged in successfully. And let me use logout, and this logout will be an arrow function. Set is authenticated as false, and save this. Now we have login, we have logout. That's it. So we are passing that as a values, and all the below components can access this particular provided value by using use context. So first case is we will be going into login, and we will be calling this particular login method, and will set the authenticated value to true. So here we have a login. Let me go into the login component. Inside this login component, what I'll do is I'll create a button. So let me click on this and create a button. And what this button will do is it will call the login method. What I'll do is I'll use something like login navigate to products, or login and navigate. So something like this. So I'm using login and navigate to products. So this is my class, and this is my button. Let me add the class name, copy this and put it over here. Let me add a space for this button, and NBSP. Save this. Now when the user clicks on this button, I am thinking like we'll be using a method of this, and what this method should do is it has to authenticate. Like if you have any login API, you will be calling the login API, and you after successful login you will be calling the authenticated route, and that authentication will be true. But in this case, what I'm thinking is once the user clicks on this button, I'm thinking that user is successfully logged in. Once the user is successfully logged in, we have to call authenticated value. How to call the authenticated value from the context? So we can call it by using an object, and that can be called by using use context, and this use context should call our value, and the value is something like auth context. And now this use context will return us three values. Inside that I want only login. So let me copy login and call here once the user clicks on this. And also I want to navigate to products. Once this is set, that means my context value will be updated and it will be set to true. Then I can navigate into my slash products and save this. Now user will be navigated to products. At the same time, this login will be called. That login will be equivalent to set is authenticated of true. Now the authentication is successfully done. After this authentication, we have to utilize that authenticated value in our products. So for that sake, instead of writing for each and every component, I'll create one parent authenticated component. That is nothing but a page or a component. Let me go into the components and create a new folder called as protected component. Protected, and inside this protected I'll create something called as protected route.js. So this is my protected component, RFCE. So what I'll do is I'll pass all the authenticated routes into this as a children. So let me pass it as a prop as a children, and that children should be rendered. So let me go here. I'll not use anything, just a empty, and I'll use something like children. So let me format this. When I should show this children? When the user is authenticated. So let me get whether the user is authenticated or not. Let me go and use context, and inside this use context I'll use auth context, which is from app, and this will return three things. One is login, one is logout, and one more is authenticated. So let me take is authenticated value and put it over here. Now if the user is not authenticated, then I want to return back him to navigate, and let me use a to attribute where it will be navigating back to login if the user is not authenticated. If the user is authenticated, I want to show the children. Where I can pass the children, I can use this protected route based on the routing mechanism. For login, we don't want protection. For register, we don't want protection, but products, we need a protection. So let me add a protected route here, and inside this, I'm passing products as the children. So let me go here and put it here. Let me hit enter and hit enter. And here also the same thing. For details also we need. Let me add the protected route here. Protected route here as well. And hit enter, format. In the same way, I want to pass for this as well. Paste and format. Save this. Now I'm protecting three routes. One is products and one is the nested of that products. So let me format this. I'll go back to my browser. Now here we have a login button and navigate. And if I try to go into the products, see here it is not changing. I'm clicking it, but it's coming back to the login. When I go into register, it is working. When I go into products, it is going again to login because this guy is not authenticated. Once I click on login and navigate, then I'm treating the user has been logged in successfully and he is authenticated. Then it will go into products. Let me click on this. Here you can see it went to products, and if I click on chocolate, it went to chocolate, milk, ghee. So everywhere it is trying to navigate. That means these all routes are authenticated. So when I click on refresh, immediately it went to login because the state of this authenticated value we are maintaining at the app level. We are not storing anywhere. That's how we are navigating back to login page. If you want to use any of these authenticated routes or protected routes, you can create such layer, and that layer can be injected anywhere wherever you want as a children, and it works as it is. So that's how you can use your protected routes. And in the upcoming video, we will see the different approach for this protected routes. We can use protected routes as well as we can use unprotected routes. That means we can segregate both the sections. And if you want to show some content specifically for protected routes, you can show that. It is very simple. If you go here we have a children. On top of this children, whatever you are writing, it will be visible only for that specific routes. That means all the protected routes can only see that particular common code. So that's how this protected route will help. That's about your protected routes in React.js. Hope this gave you a glance and clear understanding of how to use protected routes. That's it for this video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.